Spider's finally back. That was a tough setting this up today. On Spiders, CFL's Red Zone Rule. Hit it! Spider, spider, here comes Spiders, CFL's Red Zone Rule. Hit it! Spider, spider, here comes Spiders, CFL's Red Zone Rule. Hit it! Red Zone. Hey! Spider's back! He's flying! That's on Spider's Facebook page. Spider's back for a good session. Sorry I've been away for, I think, a month. Because I had some issues at my property I had to deal with, and it was summer, and anyway, haven't been a lot of fun, but I got them resolved and everything like that. It's taken me about a month, and sorry for the fog. There's lots of fog in Halifax today, and my Spider CFL Red Zone Rule monitor's fogged. It's pretty appropriate, right? It's the first time I put that flat color satin banner up. You probably can't read it. I need a sharper camera. I still got the old thing, the old 380. It's like cable, right? Pixels. Sorry, it's a hard one, eh? Anyway, that's why I keep it, because it's hard to get a remote control. But I'm going to probably have to invest in, if I can find, you know, I can get one maybe for $700 or something with taxes in or something with a remote, a lot sharper. 1080. I'm probably going to do it eventually, probably this year. Probably be a good Christmas present to do. But I'm from the old school, and I've done this, all my sets, over 5 years now or more. And I've always used a Sony. It's Carl Zeiss lens on it too, anyway. So let's get into the set, what we're going to do. And let's have a toast for the Edmonton Eskimos. Not Eskies, Eskimos. No more of this, like, Elksimals, like Ballsy calls it. Ballsy's got a show now uncut. I like him. I think he's right. They did him in. I hope he watches this. I'll send him a text, you know, or an email and say that he's probably got a new email address now, but I had his old. But he was a good guy. One time he mentioned me, you know, about my Spider from Halifax and everything, and I think if he really knew a lot about my Spider CFL Red Zone Rule, he may have me on his show. Ballsy's uncut. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. But this session, anyway, toast to the Edmonton Eskimos. Not the S. Don't call him the X owner, new owner. Don't do that. I think this is Thompson, is it? Yeah. He's a great guy too. He's an older man, but he's cool, you know? Giving balls. A 31,000 yesterday at the Labor Day rematch between Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton beat them bad, and in front of almost 29,000 in Calgary, the Labor Day Classic, and they beat them bad again in Edmonton. Good for the Eskimos. You got to bring that name back. You can't cheat because of Randy Ambrosi and you know, and him and Trudeau, the radical leftists. You know, like, come on. See what I got on with my son sent me? CFL, okay? Radically Canadian, okay? And that's my CFL Red Zone Rule. It's bold. It's radical. It's Spider's CFL Red Zone Rule. And I'm gonna get into that in the session in a second, but this session is going to be on why our CFL game is way better than the NFL. Overhyped, overrated. Players as well, overrated. They're just a big money machine, that's all they are. And it's so bad, it's unbelievable. But this is what the session's about. Why our game is so much better than their little easy, I'd call, little outdoor arena NFL football. Overrated, overhyped, you know, little easy game. They have 4-down game at their little tiny little end zone, but a field 40%, 48%, sorry, Imagine, smaller than our CFL field. Did you watch Cody Fajardo? I mean, BC Lions, York. Nathan York took a while to come back from the NFL because welcome to the CFL, Nathan. And he struggled, but he looked good in the last 2 games. Not great, but he looked good. He looked, he looked pretty better in Touchdown Pacific. And anyway, but he did the job. He had they had a good game plan and they beat the Alouettes, but the Alouettes didn't have any receivers; they're all injured. So how do you play with all rookies with a Canadian ratio? That's going to be my next session again. I'm going to really get into the Canadian ratio, but in a different way too. It's going to be really good. The next 2 sessions, it's going to be something different I've done in the Canadian ratio than before. Something that would probably work. Okay, getting rid of it, but I have something to put in place that I think will work in relation to top Canadian players and so forth. So it's not going to hurt Canadian players. It's going to help the CFL, because why do you play all these weak links, all these Canadian players because of the ratio that don't deserve to be on the field? Like, have no business being on the CFL field. That's ridiculous. So I have a plan. I thought about it and how it probably would work, okay? Even better, okay? But the Canadian ratio has to go. The starting Canadian ratio has to go, okay? So anyway, that's going to be my next session. But this one is on why our CFL game. And you imagine how much better it would be if the Canadian ratio was gone, if you allow the best available players to play. And with SPYDER CFL Red Zone Bowl. What do you think? It looks pretty good with this, eh? When my son got, it looks pretty good. I think that's in the way. I take that away because I think it's in the way a bit. I want him to see my shirt because, okay, I want the Eskimos shown too. Show the Eskimos, we'll show them. I'm going to screw up the riders. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders are going to be mad at me. Hope to see. Anyway, it's okay. I'll rotate them. There you go. Got twins. Anyway, cheers. Here's for the Edmonton Eskimos. Okay. Bethel Thompson was awesome. And then in the getting back to the Labor Day Classic in Calgary, he had 550 yards of passing. Oh my God, he was something else. Oh, come on, Bonner. Come on, Dave Dickinson. I swear to God, it's Canadian ratio game that's killing the CFL, killing the Stampeders, killing the Hamilton, killing the Toronto Argonauts now. Seriously, I'm going to get into that all in the next session. Okay? Anyway, there's some great Labor Day games, and hats off to the BC Lions. They beat the Alouettes, but that's why they beat them. All the receivers. There's the Canadian ratio again. Imagine. You got top Canadian players. It's hard to get top Canadian receivers now, and they go down, and like Philpott for the Alouettes, and how do you replace him? And then Mack goes down. Come back from the NFL from the Falcons, and they signed a big deal with him. He goes down in bad ankle with practice, in practice. Like he only played 1 game, and he's gone to 6-game injured list, okay? So it's crazy what's going on in the CFL right now. So put that back here for now. I'll be putting it on and off, okay? So anyway, but we have to really give a toast to the Edmonton Eskimos, and you have to bring that name back. Listen, Randy Ambrosie's got to be let go. He's got to be fired. He's got to be gone. And he's the reason the Canadian ratio is what it is, and it's ruining the CFL. I'm going to get into that whole thing in the next session. But this session is going to be on why our game, radically Canadian, and why our CFL game. Imagine, 3-down game. Imagine how much better it would be with SPYDER CFL Red Zone Bowl. Okay? Imagine. I'm going to get into that as well. But way better than the NFL. It's so overhyped. And by the way, like in the CFL, it could take you 10 years. 10 years, yeah, it could take you 10 years. They wouldn't be around. They'd get rid of if you wouldn't become a bona fide CFL quarterback in 10 years. If you can't do it in 6 years, Calvillo took him 5-6 years, and a lot of quarterbacks takes them, 3, 4, look at Bethel Thompson, right? It took him 5 years. In the NFL, you can go from college football right in the NFL and you be a star quarterback because, they don't touch their quarterbacks. It's like, they pat them like a cat that doesn't bite, you know, like purr, you know, they don't touch them. It's no yard off the ball. There's so much excess fat and weight. Sorry, I'm not calling people obese, but that's what, it's not your fault. That's what they want. They want these guys that build a wall, and there's no yard off the ball, and there's no width to the field, you know, and there's 4 downs with a 40-second clock. And if you can't kick a field goal in the NFL, and that there's no angles because of the narrow field, 53 yards, imagine 100 yards long, 10-yard end zone. Those end zones are a joke. I want to bring up the end zones and how much our game is so much better than the NFL game. Cody Fajardo, the speaker, that's only receiver he had, for God's sakes. They're all injured. The Yellows would have beat the BC Lions. Anyway, so he's on the 5-yard line. Imagine the NFL on the 5-yard line, 53. Imagine width of the field, 53 yards with a 10-yard end zone. Man, versus a 65, okay, with a 20-yard end zone in the CFL. So that's why Cody Fajardo, in comparison to the NFL, on the 5-yard line, he threw this unbelievable. They call it a fade area in the red zone, where because it doesn't square off in Montreal, and I think in Edmonton, same thing. It goes sort of on an angle in the corner. They call it a fade pass into that corner of the end zone. But it's a nice pass. It's like a 30-yard pass. Times he snaps a ball on the shotgun. It's 35-yard pass. Oh my God! In the NFL, you got an underhand. You can't even throw the ball. It's a joke. Their game is a joke. Their players are way overrated, including their $40 million quarterbacks. They're way overrated. Play our game mode. See how good you are. Oh my God, it's unbelievable how overrated the NFL is. Oh my God, that quarterback one time I was watching for, that was the head of Nathan Rourke at Jacksonville. What a bum. He was a starter. Blonde guy, forget his name. I don't even care. I don't even care to know their names. He was terrible. I was saying to myself, you imagine him on the NFL field, and Bonner, you can't make it in the CFL. Like the way you throw, you're a big guy, you can't throw a ball. You can throw it on an NFL field. You can't throw it in CFL field. You can't do it. The throws are way more difficult to make. The field's 48 yards, 48% larger. Do the math. Like when I say that, people say, are you crazy? Almost 50% larger than the NFL field. There's actually NFL fans that are so brainwashed NFL in Canada that don't even know. They think the NFL field is bigger than the CFL. I'm not kidding you. I've had them tell me that. I just could not believe they would say something like that. That's how little they know about our game. And you know what? When I get into the Canadian racer thing next session, it's going to be really good because I'm going to talk about so many different aspects of it. I mean, with the players and play AUS and, you know, youth football in Canada, the college football, they all want to go to the NFL. Even, you know, the American players come up here. Imagine, they come up here. The Canadian players, I mean, they play college football, they don't even watch the CFL because they all want to go to the NFL. I'm not kidding. And they're in the CFL, they just use the Canadian ratio. And they're going the NFL in a second. They want to go even more than the American players who actually come up here. Seriously, I'm going to get into all that. That gives you a bit of what I'm going to talk about. So I hope you follow me from the next session. But getting back to the NFL game versus the CFL game. Yeah, 48% larger field, the CFL field versus the NFL. It's almost 50%. It's simple. Do the math. Get a calculator at 100 yards in the NFL in length to the goal lines versus 110 in the CFL. 53 yards wide. That's max. Some of them are a little less. Seriously. And so you have a 10-yard end zone in the NFL as well. And you have 65 wide in the CFL and a 20-yard end zone. So you do the math. Just simply do the math. Simple with a calculator. And it comes out to 48%. Well, Mark Cohen, he was commissioner, who I really respect, who actually first was interested in my CFL Red Zone role. He was the guy. What a great guy. If he would stayed commissioner of the CFL, we would have a lot better. The Canadian ratio would have been changed, and my CFL Red Zone will be part of a CFL 3-down game of football, which it should be. Okay, if Mark Cohen was there, but Mark Cohen told me it was 48%, almost 50%. He told me that. So I did the math on it, and I believe him, but I did the math on it, just checked it. So the NFL is so easy. The fair catch, all this bullshit. There's no special teams, so there's not three facets of the game. There's only defense and offense. That's it. The kicking's a joke. The kicking's a joke. I mean, if you can't kick a field goal in that little narrow field, you should go home. You know, and they miss. It's unbelievable. And fair catch, you drive the ball right through the friggin', the back end zone, where the crowd is, out to the canteen or the concourse or the washrooms. I mean, it's a joke, that little tiny NFL outdoor arena football field. That's what it is. That's why our CFL game is so much better than the outdoor, tiny wee outdoor arena. That's what NFL football is. Outdoor arena football. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's exactly what it is. And our game, the field is a big part of our game. Special teams is a big part of the game. Don't even exist in the CFL. You know, punt returns are big. Look at Logan, sorry. Hogan, sorry. Stampeders, Labor Day Classic at the Edmonton Eskimos. It was a great part of the game. They actually had a chance to come back with a huge touchdown return for a punt return because of our game. It was huge. I think 108 yards. It was huge. But you never see that in the NFL. It doesn't exist. Their special teams doesn't even exist. I mean, it's unbelievable. No wonder they can kick 60-yard field goals. And they're starting to do it in the CFL. And our size field. Imagine with the angles. With the hash mark, narrow hash marks, which is ridiculous. Okay? They never should have changed. But we won't talk about that. Let's talk about the CFL, why our game is so radically Canadian, our CFL 3-down game of football. Imagine if it had SPYDER CFL Red Zone, how much better it would be, and allow the best players to play, and there was no Canadian ratio. Imagine, to prevent the best players from playing our CFL 3-down game with SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule at the highest level with the best available players. You imagine the product you'd have. Then you'd have something to sell, Randy and Brosie. You talk about marketing, but you have to have a product first. You got to go. You have to go. You're a disaster. You couldn't sell like shit to rats. I'm not kidding you. Like, it's terrible. You have to go. You're a disgrace. As a commissioner, you're an absolute disgrace. And you hide all the time. And by the way, there was an interview with him. I got to bring this up. Okay, and we'll get back to the comparison. I got to bring this up. There was an interview with him just recently. Okay, I think it was not in Calgary. It was in Saskatchewan for the Labor Day. And they lost. Saskatchewan lost twice to Winnipeg, back to back. Banjo Bowl in the Labor Day Classic in Saskatchewan last weekend. Anyway, and Brosie never mentioned a word, and Ballsy had him on too at the same time, and his uncut, he uses, our balls are bigger, Ballsy does, and he said, I didn't even bother asking him about expansion in Halifax, because he'd bullshit and, dodge around it. Well, he is a bullshitter, and nothing's happening. Justin Dunk never even asked him a word about it. He's a big bullshitter. And he's got to go. The guy's got to go. And we need a 10th team. He's probably going to explore touchdown Quebec, next year to try to get interest there. That's what he's going to do. He's done nothing. He's not come down here. He hasn't made a proposal to Premier Houston to do something at St. Mary's. He's just all he does is probably sit around eating donuts and drinking beer. The guy's lazy. He hasn't got a clue. He can't make a presentation. He can't sell. Like I said, he couldn't sell ice cubes to the Eskimos. That would be pretty easy to sell, wouldn't it? Make their igloos. He couldn't do it. Unbelievable. We got to get rid of him. But anyway, getting back to why our game is so much better. The 3 downs, okay? With my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule was wisely implemented, our CFL 3-down game would be way better than it is now. As good as it is now, which is better than the NFL outdoor arena football game. Imagine how much better it would be my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. Can you imagine? Our 3rd down would actually, with my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, put a real signature on our 3rd down. Give it real importance, real put a lot of emphasis on it and give it a meaning and a real purpose, and it would be a much bigger down than their fourth down. Because in the red zone, if you can't score a touchdown, 4 downs in the NFL in the red zone, you should go home. You could run the, and by the way, you could run the ball, like Doug Flutie said, you could run it four times every time and get a first down. The NFL game, actually, you have to throw it down away because it won't even work. Really, it won't, we have to throw it down away, basically. It's just unbelievable. Let's celebrate again the Edmonton Eskimos and bring that name back. Come on, don't call it the S or the Eskies. Come on, bring it back. And they're doing well. And they're 1 point behind Saskatchewan. Imagine, they won 5 straight games. Anyway, Hamilton beat Toronto. Toronto's terrible. They're terrible. They got beat up in the rainstorm yesterday in Ottawa, and Hamilton beat them in the Labor Day Classic. You know, it's unreal. They look terrible. And the Canadian ratio is not helping their cause either. I'll get into that next section. I only got 7 minutes left, so we've got to get into the comparison here. But anyway, the NFL game is an absolute joke. They're all about money. You got to remember, think about that. If you get 25,000 people at a CFL game, that's a pretty big crowd for a country that's 35 million, 38 million, I think it is now, and versus 380 million in the United States. I mean, and so I mean, it is basically 10 times larger in population. So the CFL is doing really well. 31,000. The whole lower bowl and the Edmonton Eskimo Labor Day Classic rematch against the Stampeders, who look terrible because of the Canadian ratio. But Dickinson's got to go. Huff's got to go too. They have to go. They got to be shipped out. Okay, Canadian ratio has to go. Anyway, 31,000 whole lower bowl. It was sold out. They didn't sell any in the upper bowl. They wanted to sell the whole lower bowl. There was a lot of atmosphere. They should do what Calgary's doing and put up like banners up top and only use the better section, the center, and down further lower on the upper bowl, and do it that way. And in the end zones, cover over the back end zones. Okay, that's what I would do, like Calgary did. Okay, but Ottawa Red Blacks, come on, you got the I like the uniforms, so it's looks like the old Rough Rider uniform, but you can't have no stripes in your legs like Hamilton had with their black. But that looks terrible, absolutely terrible. Come on, get some stripes back on. I'm gonna send an email to the CEO or something. It's ridiculous. If Hamilton's smart enough, they got their gold stripe back on. And by the way, Hamilton, you have to put your logos in the end zone. Bob Boring, what's wrong with you? Come on. Ottawa has. Every CFL team, Montreal, everybody's had to have their logos, at least in the end zone. If you're not going to have it center field, it should be center field and the end zone. You got to dress it up. But, Randy Ambrosie's a disgrace because he doesn't even know how to dress. You know, seriously. Anyway, let's get back to my session. I got 4 more minutes. My main topic here. Look, the NFL game, if you can't get a first down with 4 downs, like Flutie said, you have to basically throw it down away. And 40-second clock, Flutie said, you don't even play the game, you can win the game. It's ridiculous. Versus a 20-second clock in the CFL. That yard off the ball with the motion and the waggle, is a big feature too. Okay, but our CFL game would be way more lot more better than it is now, and it's better than the NFL game now. But imagine with SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule made part of our CFL 3-down game football, how much better it would be in the NFL game, because it would put a real signature and a spotlight on our 3rd down, and it'd be a way better down than their 4th down. Okay, because look what it would do in the red zone. Imagine what it would do in the red zone. Can you imagine? Every time a CFL team that's playing exciting CFL 3-down game or 3-down game of football in the red zone. What a selling feature! Like, it's been happening every game during the Labor Day Classic. It's been happening every game. Look how many times stop easy chip shot field goals from the 20. There's one from the 21, 22, 26. Like, there's one even shorter than that. My God, it was from the 12 or 14 or something. It's ridiculous. Okay, you gotta. Hey, you need SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. Okay. when the CFL team in the red zone is stopped on second down, every CFL team will be playing exciting CFL 3-down football. Okay? To score a touchdown. And if they're stopped and still maintain possession of the ball and stay in the red zone, okay, from the 20-yard in and not forced outside, they get SPYDER CFL red zone rule kick. Okay? From the 35, you add the 7. It's a challenge you get from the 42 for 3 points. Okay? Because it's an enforcement rule. That's why. And my SPYDER CFL red zone rule kick is an enforcement rule too. They have to kick it. Okay? And it's not 4 downs, you clowns. Okay? It's SPYDER CFL red zone rule. Okay? CFL 3-down football at its very best. And it'd be a lot more entertaining, a lot more exciting brand of CFL 3-down football to watch. You can take that to the bank. Okay? Guarantee you. And it will pack stadiums and make them soar and roar throughout the whole CFL. You imagine the product we would have if the Canadian ratio was abolished, okay? I'm going to get into that in the next session. There's going to be a big session on it. But our game, for so many reasons, okay? I'll probably do another session on this, is way better than the NFL game. Way, way better than the NFL game. Way more exciting. I mean, you have to be a way better quarterback in the CFL than the NFL. I'll leave you with this. Cash, he's going to be retired in October 20th. He played for the Alouettes, okay? Won a Grey Cup when Calville was here. He was saying when he came up with the CFL, he couldn't believe the 3 downs versus a 4 down, the yard off the ball, the motion, the waggle, all that, the size of the field. Couldn't believe. He said, I had to train and get in way better shape than to play American NFL football. He said that. He said way better shape, and every player has to. Every American player that comes out got to get in way better shape. You got to be a way better receiver. I mean, you have to be a faster running back too. Seriously. And defensive backs, you're like on an island. You got to be some good as a defensive back in the CFL. And what we have to do is we got to get the best O-line by getting rid of the Canadian ratio. That's going to be my next session. It's coming up right now. SPYDER, here comes SPYDER CFL red zone rule. We'll see you in a few seconds. It's going to be a great session. Stay tuned. Coming right up. Go Eskimos! Go Eskimos! I'm happy for you.